So, hello everyone. We're back with our CTO Summit 2020 interviews. My name is Alex, and we're here with our wonderful friend Sandro Mancuso. Sandro, thank you so much for being here with us. Just to give a brief intro about Sandro. Sandro, he's a software craftsman, a managing director and founder of Codurance out of London. You have a quite eclectic, I would say, background. You were also director and software craftsman at UBS, out of all the places. And your story is quite unique. You've been spearheading some of the software craftsmanship groups there in London. So I would love to hear a little bit more about your story and about how you ended up doing all this stuff. Sandro.
Hello, Alex. Hello, everyone from CTO Summit. My journey to where I am today, my professional journey mixed with my personal journey as well. So since that, I was born in Brazil, so I'm Brazilian. I lived a big chunk of my life in Brazil, and I always had this dream of living in London. So everything started because as a teenager, I wanted to live in London, and it was a dream of my life. And so I ended up guiding my entire career, all the decisions that I've made, to come to London one day. But because
that's what we call drive. That's amazing.
And I could not have a lot of support from financial support from my family. So I had to do things more on my own. So all the decisions had to be planned. And I had two passions back then: basketball and programming. Right. So, and I knew that basketball would not take me to London. Right. So,
how what's your height? Because maybe that's a problem.
At all, right. So 5 short for a basketball player. So I ended up choosing IT. So the choice of my career was related not only with the passion that I had, but also with the dream that I had. And then when I started at university, I was really obsessed with code quality since the very beginning, with the details of the code and the code standards and design and things. So as I started preparing myself to come to the UK, I took holidays. I came to the UK as a tourist to see if I wanted to live here or not. So I had all these years of planning. And then when I got here as a tourist, I knew that my English was not good. I discovered that my English was not good enough, and my skills were not good enough. So my English was basically, I could order McDonald's, right? That would be good enough. But I could not have a phone call or things like that. So I had to delay my plans. I went back to Brazil, and I spent 4 years preparing myself, paying private English classes. I enrolled myself in a master degree in distributed objects back then. I had to change jobs and technology because what I was doing in Brazil, there was no market in the UK. So I had to move to Java and distributed objects and distributed systems.
Oh, I'm so sorry for your loss there. I'm a computer engineer myself, and holy crap, I hate it.
It was like 4 years of preparing myself so that when I arrived in London, I would not only be in the right place, at least from my perspective, but also with the right life as well. I didn't want to be in the right place, but with the wrong life, if you know what I mean. So it was years and years of preparation. And when I got here, I arrived here in 2004, and I was very fortunate because at that time, Agile was still in its infancy, Agile software development. And there was a lot of big movements in London. A lot of Agile was really evolving fast in London. And I was able to join those groups, to meet those people, and to be at the early days. What happened a few years later is that people like myself that were very technical and that really liked Agile, we were a bit disappointed because Agile became more focused on the process side, and the technical aspect of Agile was left behind a bit. And that frustrated a few people, including myself. So then a new movement was created. That's when the whole software craftsmanship comes into play. So we said, you know what, we like Agile, we like the principles, but we also want the technical part of it, the quality of the code, the professionalism, the attention to detail. And that's what the software craftsmanship movement was about. And I was at the very beginning of it. It started in Chicago, but I was one of the first ones to bring to Europe and to London. And that's when I started the software craftsmanship community in London. So at that time, I was already working in consultancy companies with Agile projects, and we brought in the whole craftsmanship mindset as well. With that, with the community, and with the craftsmanship mindset, I decided to spread that message as far as I could. So I started traveling around, mostly Europe, but quite a few US and Asia and other places, to talk about craftsmanship and share the passion that I had for coding and quality and so on. And a lot of people liked that. And this allowed me to build a very extensive network of like-minded people that really cared about quality software. That led me to opportunities like the UBS that you mentioned. So larger companies decided, so look, you know what? We are investing in agile software development, but the quality of our systems is not coming along. We are getting better at our process, but not at our engineering. So they start investing on craftsmanship. And that created opportunities for me to have very interesting jobs with very large companies that do a lot of very cool stuff. And then a few years later, Mesh and I, like Mesh is my other co-founder, we worked together at UBS and at Valtech before that. And he was also part of the craftsmanship community since the beginning. So it was we had an opportunity to start our own business because a lot of people that we met through the communities, through the agile and craftsmanship world, had interest to work with us and to adopt those things. So we started Codeunits in 2013, and now 7 years later, Codeunits is almost 100 people company with 3 offices.
Wow. Well, it's interesting that you bring this up because I used to be involved in a lot of the early days of Agile development. And I remember vividly talking with one of my co-founders about, I don't understand this. And even with our customers, I said, like, look, continuous improvement, it's based on continuous, but also in improvement. And if you don't improve, you just end up with having a fast way of doing the same shit thing that you were doing before, right?
Exactly.
And the whole craftsmanship is involved in that improvement. It is about improving the quality. It's about improving the systems. It's about improving the scalability of your systems. The something that I still, as a developer, see a lot, like the architecture of how people do this is like, it's not well designed, and then you end up having to redesign things over and over and over again. So I feel you when you mention that stuff because I've been there. But one thing that struck me about your story was that you're very strong-minded about what you want, right? You have this objective, you have this goal, and you keep pursuing it over and over and over again, which is a fantastic quality. And I wonder, how have you been living through this pandemic? Because people like you, where you have this goal in mind, sometimes it's kind of massive disruptions kind of disrupt, right, some of the plans that you had because you have to plan ahead of time, right? So how have you been living this personally and also through the company? Like what has been the impact for you guys?
Yeah, so of course that we were caught by surprise as most of the world, right? So there are multiple aspects to it. I would say that in around February, March, that's where we all realized that would be a real serious thing and things would shut down and stuff. We were quite worried. It was the first time in all our history as a company that we were worried, because what happened was we were doing very well. We were set up to have our best year in 2020. We were, for the first time, we would be making a significant investment outside, not only inside Codeunits, but in other business. So we were a bit worried. So we decided to hold our investments and things like that. And also, because we had a very rich pipeline with big clients and stuff. But then what they also got worried, so they start holding the initiatives. So projects that we had that were about to start in April, they said, we are not going to start anything now. Let's talk in 6 months' time. So they start pushing everything to after the holidays. So all of a sudden, we had a very healthy pipeline that dried. The existing clients also, some of them shrinked. So we were very, very worried. However, after a month and a half, I think that a lot of companies, including ourselves, realize, so you know what, that's going to be the new norm. We don't know when this is going to go away, and what we cannot do is to stop doing business. And so the combination of us understanding that and our clients understanding that, so some clients actually grew during that period. And a lot of clients...
No, let me ask you something about that, because it's interesting. I'm in Spain, right? I'm in Madrid, so we felt this like directly, like this drying up and this feeling of like the new normal, and that hey, business has to keep moving, and we need to figure out new ways of doing this. So you said that your pipeline dried for the first like 4 or 5 months. So I'm wondering, because I'm seeing this, that after the summer, all those clients that pushed things forward just came crashing down on me at the same time. So I don't know if you guys are actually feeling now like all these projects that were delayed, like happening now at the same time.
Yes, so it even started before, because some of the clients actually benefited from the situation. So some businesses that we were dealing with, they actually they had more opportunities, and they had to accelerate some of the changes in their systems to cope with the new norm. So that, of course, generated more business for us. And then now, as you were saying, so we had, like, although a few clients shrunk, other clients grew because they had to adapt. And then now the ones that pushed their initiatives a little bit to the second half of the year, they are all coming out. So we are extremely busy right now. And for us to adapt, for us it was easy. I mean, because we are consultants. Every person in our company, from the office manager to the founders, to everyone has a laptop. Always. We don't have a single desktop in the entire company. So because we are a consultancy company, working from home was already a flexibility that we had. So it was not difficult for us to adapt. It was harder for our clients to adapt than for us. So we are coping very well. What changed for us was the business strategy. Because before, this is a thing that before COVID, our growth strategy was more focused on local offices. So we have London, we have Manchester, we have Barcelona. We were considering the idea was to open Madrid this year. And then potentially go to another country.
I would wait a couple of months about that.
so yeah, but then now in terms of growth, we are questioning: should we chase a physical location, or because we now have clients in different countries as well. Our biggest client is from US, so
yeah.
So our growth strategy are becoming more focused on the global market than the actual local market.
Yeah, that's something that a lot of startups are telling me, that the friction of opening new leads globally has dropped drastically. Like everyone is like feeling that we have to do business no matter what, and I don't care if you're there or here or here. I'm getting used to doing remote, so bring it on. And even onboardings that require being physically there because there's a hardware part or stuff like that, they are also onboarding online. So I think it's right across the board. So could we say, Sandro, that you guys are actually hiring?
We are. We are always hiring. So we never stop hiring, ever. So,
okay.
Well, so sometimes we calibrate the bar. Sometimes when we want to, so we just raise the bar a bit of our hiring. So we just focus more on seniors, but we are always hiring. I don't think in our history we ever stopped hiring.
Well, that's a good, because I'm pretty sure that a lot of people in our audience are registering this. So hopefully you'll have his contact details on his talks, that so you can reach out. Anyway, so to finish this wonderful interview, Sandro, could you please very briefly tell us what is your talk going to be about this year? What are the main points, the teasers that people should be looking for?
Right. So I'll be talking about aligning product and software design. So the premise here, like we of course we build software for a living, right? We are a consultancy company. We have loads of different software projects with different clients and so on. What we feel is that even companies that have adopted agile processes, they still have a big separation of product strategy and technical strategy. So the intersection between business and technology is smaller than we like to think. Normally the intersection becomes the backlog, the sprint, the next iteration. But there's a lot that goes into product design. Products. When I say product, is any software project, right? So software product can be internal, external, it doesn't matter. But anything that is strategic. So there is a lot of thought that goes into the evolution of a software system or product. I'll call product in this case. But there's also a lot of strategic decisions that go in the architecture, in the design of the systems. But normally those are not done at the same time by the same group of people together. So normally what you end up is with a strategic software, a strategic product decisions, but the architecture of the product becomes reactive. They create all these different ideas. We want to do this and that with the product. They start iterating, but when they iterate, they focus on the small and they lose sight of the big. And then the architecture doesn't support the product strategy. So basically, the whole talk is about how can we unify the product strategy with the software strategy so that the software strategy can support the evolution of the product instead of being a reactive thing and become a drag later on.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, Sandro, that is music to my ears. You have no idea how many times I've preached this, and I said, look, you need to devote time to build your platform and your architecture, or you won't be able to deliver on this stuff. And as you were saying, like, there's sadly not that much connection or point of touch between these two sides. I remember that I used to keep telling the teams, your team should be cross-functional for a reason. It's not being said because it's something nice and cool and hipster. It's because if you're really truly cross-functional, then your team can also build these improvements that you need at the same time you're doing your sprints on product. So you can kind of do both things at the same time, devoting time to both things and not just doing this whole chunk and then doing this small little chunk about architecture. And then you say like, yeah, we can never improve there. There's never enough time. It's like, well, there's never enough time because you never make the time to do it.
So,
right?
this is what is going to be one of the key things that I want to cover, because like there is also like the feedback loop is different. So the feedback loop that you have for the small feature, the small classes and tests is very fast. But a feedback loop for an architectural decision is also different. The same for the product. For small features here and there, you can get them out quickly, but maybe you are building a brand new strategy for your product. The feedback is longer. So calibrating how upfront you do an architecture decision, or so should we do just as we are building a feature? How far before we do? When do we plan? So how do we calibrate those decisions and still get a feedback loop that is appropriate for the size of the decision that you are making? So all of those things I'll be talking about. Another thing is like a lot of developers say, oh, the business don't see the value of the technical improvements or architecture. This is a very common complaint from developers. But we cannot just put them, blame the business for not seeing value. If, for example, if you don't see value in what I'm saying, I cannot blame you. I need to blame myself and say, well, I'm not doing enough so that Alex can see the value of what I'm saying. So basically, like the developers also, if they see value in the technical improvements and strategy, it's their job to show to the business the value of what they are proposing and not the business to understand.
Yeah. No, it's man, preaching to the choir here. It is true. I work a lot also. Even though I don't code anymore. Well, I do code, but not at a professional level anymore. But I do a lot of communication. And for me, I keep telling the team sometimes it's like, look, it is your responsibility to go to that meeting because you need to communicate the importance of doing this. The sooner they hear it, the better it's going to go afterwards for everyone. So I love the fact, Sandro, that you're a long-term strategist. I think that's very rare, and I'm guessing that's one of the reasons why you are where you are and why the company is so successful. So, Sandro, it's been a pleasure having you here, and I really, really want to check your talk. I mean, I'm an enthusiast. I'm a computer scientist, so I love all this stuff, but specifically this area of improvement, quality, and long-term thinking, because I think a lot of Agile, despite what a lot of people say about, it's good enough and you have to work with what you have, there is a sense of long-term, what in Japanese we say the do, the mishi, the way, that it's fundamental to understand when you work with projects. And I think that you embody that concept of long-term thinking and long-term working, right? So Sandro, thank you so much, and looking forward to your talk. Thank you very much for your time, and it was a great pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much, Alex. Looking forward to be speaking to you and all the CTO Summit.
Okay, so people at CTO Summit, you cannot miss Sandro's talk. See you very soon, and I hope you all enjoy. See you.